Internet marketing tools. Our presenter today is Cheri Mahon, corporate consultant and adjunct professor of marketing at RIT. Cheri is a consultant that helps clients with their marketing and communications. She has served as a senior executive for several startup companies with new technology products and led their communications through IPO into growing publicly traded companies. She was VP of Communications and Investor Relations at Arista Power, and before that, Director of Investor Relations and Communications at Document Security Systems. In 2011, she earned her EMBA at the Saunders College of Business here at RIT and is an adjunct professor for the college. She is an active member in the community by serving on the board of directors of CCCS of Rochester, the YWCA, and numerous other nonprofit causes. In 2012, she was chosen as honoree for RWN's prestigious W Award. She is a published author and is working on another book to be released in 2015. Take it away, Cheri.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you everyone for choosing to spend your lunch hour with us, and thank you for the Division of Development and Alumni Relations here at RIT for sponsoring these webinars for all of us. I know I've tuned into a few of them as well. But let's get started. I have quite a bit to cover. We have about 45, 50 minutes, and some of it will go very quickly, and let's go through the agenda first. So I'm going to start just doing a quick overview of internet marketing and the progression. I believe it really helps to start at the beginning to understand how quickly things have developed, as well as to see how fast things will continue to develop going forward. And then I will go through 5 tools, and there are many, many tools, but I chose for this presentation to cover SEO, which is search engine optimization, LinkedIn advertising, and tool 3 will be advertising on social media platforms, and I'm going to focus on Facebook quickly. And tool 4 is going to be pay-per-click, otherwise known as PPC. And tool 5, I'm going to go over a couple of examples of where you can look at your website analytics. And then I'll summarize, and I did a couple of slides with resources, and we'll have a few minutes at the end for some Q&A time. All right, so many of you may not know, or you may know, the internet started in the U.S. during the Cold War. For years, it was used by scientists and researchers to communicate and share data with one another. In 1991, a Switzerland computer programmer named Tim Berners-Lee introduced the World Wide Web, and this is the internet as we know it now. And it was not any longer a way to simply send files from one place to another, but it was a web of information that anyone on the internet could retrieve. And then in about 1992, a group of students and researchers at the University of Illinois developed a browser that they called the Mosaic. And you may have heard this, but it later became known as Netscape. Mosaic was a user-friendly way to search the web, and it allowed users to see words and pictures on the same page and to navigate using scroll bars and clickable links that we all know about now. Right around the same year, Congress decided that the web could be used for commercial purposes. And as a result, companies have set up websites of their own, and e-commerce entrepreneurs have begun to use the internet to sell goods directly to customers. Some facts I pulled out, and it was interesting because McKinsey & Company just did a pretty large report on this. 4.4 billion people around the world still don't have access to the internet. And I said, well, this is a great stat, but I don't even know how many billion people are on this earth, so I looked that up, and the estimate is 7.2 billion people on Earth total. So more than half of the people on Earth still do not have access to the internet. And my question that I pose is, what's going to happen when everybody joins? So a little bit further on internet marketing, the progression of, we've really seen quite a few different changes as time has went on over the past couple of decades. We have more access to data and transparency from that. There's more communication capabilities for those of you that sleep with your phones next to you. You know what I mean there. More sharing, thanks to our social media, less privacy, and we've had lots of disruptions and opportunities. Print is, if you think of all those yellow pages, the books that you now, unfortunately, just toss immediately into your recycling bin, has been replaced by Yelp, as well as other review sites. Finding a place to stay, so you could either book a hotel or go through some of the other services now, where you can book at a hotel or somebody else's apartment. Logistics has changed. We used to have to hail a cab, and I was just in New York City a couple weekends ago, and called Uber and got myself a fancy, nice Mercedes to pick me up. Quite a difference than my normal taxi cab ride. There's music has changed. Back in the day, we used to listen to Sirius, which really wasn't that long ago, and now Spotify and Pandora are starting to move on and take over. And on. There's plenty of disruptions and opportunities that we can all name off, but it definitely seems like the changes are at a more rapid pace. If the internet started in 1992, we've had a couple of decades now, and we really, I think, are all in awe how fast things have moved. For those of you in academia, of course, you know and have heard of the law of accelerating returns and Moore's law, and it talks about how technology has really, really made things more rapid. So with all of that compiled together, with how fast we've moved and how much still of the population of the world does not have access to the internet, there's still a lot of room for growth in online sales. Another stat that I discovered was that there's still 50 million in the U.S., and we're about over 300 million in population now in the U.S. 50 million in the U.S. still do not have access to the internet. My mother is one of these. Globally, more and more people are getting access to the internet. Countries such as India, they are getting access faster using mobile phones, their smartphones, and not necessarily via desktops or laptops. Mary Meeker is a prominent researcher that many in the industry watch, and she comes up with an internet trends report every year that's widely read. And I've included the link here for you to see if you wanted to take a look at the full report. But she does mention trends that we can capitalize on, as well as print advertising review of how much is spent. So, and because this is about internet marketing and not necessarily just the progression of the internet, we can certainly talk about the spend on internet advertising. In the U.S., $36.57 billion was in 2012 spent, which was a 15% increase over 2011. With that said, the first half of 2013 was $20 billion spent, and we can imagine it was probably double to finish up those numbers to be around $40 billion. So the market is definitely growing quickly. I'm going to move on to our first tool that we're discussing today, and that's search engine optimization. So I'll start with the why you should be interested in SEO. I'll start with, if you don't know what SEO is, it attempts to improve a website's organic search rankings in the column search engine results pages by increasing the website context relevance to search terms. I call the search terms keywords, and that's many in what in the industry, marketing industry uses keywords. Search engines regularly update their algorithms to penalize poor quality sites that try to gain their rankings and make optimization a moving target. And you really, really have to be careful about some of the tactics that you choose, because Google is getting wise to the ways and will penalize you quickly, and your website could go from first page to not even to be seen in the 20th page of search results if you decide to game their algorithm system. Google changes its search algorithm about 500 to 600 times, and this is a number that they have said, although they do not share exactly what their algorithm changes are all the time. So you'll see a lot of guesses coming out, but some of the names of the changes that you may have heard of are Google Panda, Google Panda or Google Penguin. Recently there was a Google Panda update, and that really, really changed some of the results coming up on search. And you know, many of us know this stat, but it's relevant to ourselves too, but most searchers do not search past the first page of results. That's why it's important to really pay attention to SEO. So now we're going to go to the how. How do you win in SEO? There's quite a few different tactics. My number one focus, of course, is you have to really think of how much time that you have and how much resources you have, how many employees do you have that have the time to actually commit to it or not. Link building is one of the still most important ways to gain SEO. Some of you may know, but backrub used to be the name of Google. So Google's original algorithm was mostly focused on links, and their theory was that if you had links referring to your site, you were a more credible website, and therefore they would rank you higher. So that it used to be called backrub. Some quick tips I'll give you on link building, ways that you can build links coming to your website. Do not use link bait farms. Google has been severely penalizing those that are. Do not have links that are not relevant linking to your site. So if you sell dog collars and you have somebody that sells blankets linked to your site, you won't necessarily get credit points for those. Link to others that are relevant. Google has just recently started to count towards you being nice. If you do sell dog leashes and your friend sells dog beds, it is good for you to link to them and then to link back, of course, because Google will say, oh, they are linking to relevant content. They will, number one that they look at is how is your user experience? Are you helping your users at your, coming to your website out or not? Try to get entities that are very credible to link to you. You have more credibility if you have .edu or .org websites linking to your website. Another tactic that has worked really well for me in the past is using pay-for press releases. So I've used PR Newswire, Business Wire, or MarketWire. I've tried free PR services, wire distribution services, and those you do not get as much credibility if you pay for a press release service. The journalists really follow and have relationships with the PR Newswire and Business Wire that you pay for, and you will find that your rankings go up quite a bit if they link your story to your website. Another way is to get earned media by local news outlets to cover your products and services. You should have a hook before approaching any journalists. And also ask your suppliers and partners to link to you, and any associations are a good link to have to you. Another thing for SEO of how to win is to stop fighting social. It really does count for SEO. It does send your visitors away from your site, but with that said, I have seen instances where I have set up social accounts, and within 3 to 6 months, the links were counted by the Google bot and search rankings have went up. So even if you don't have a product or service that you think is beneficial to be social about, you would be surprised at how much Google does in the back end of their algorithm count that towards coming towards your website. Another important tool for SEO is to place important keywords throughout your content. You could also use Longtail Keywords, and this term means that instead of searching for just dog collars, you could search for pink martingale dog collars and use those words within your website if you sell dog collars, and that would come up better on search if somebody was being more specific during their search terms. Another tool that's really important, and I see a lot of web designers nowadays not paying full attention to this, and it is really important, is to use proper tagging in your code. And this means use your headers, use your title tags, use alt text tags on your images, and try to use different kinds of multimedia. So you upload documents, upload videos, have a variety for your customers that are coming to your website to view. And behind the scenes on your code, make sure everything has a tag. Make sure everything has those keywords that Google is going to be looking for to determine what your website is. Some things to watch out for. Make sure you have a site map submitted. Sometimes this gets overlooked, especially if you're doing the work yourself. Watch how many number of errors that you have. The larger that your website is, the more errors that you're going to have. This could be URL name changes that you don't necessarily fix while you're doing the pages. Also watch for too long of a title. Google is starting to penalize those doing too long of a titles because they think they're trying to game their search engine result pages by stuffing it full of keywords. So don't stuff it full of keywords. Those things will get kind of clunky. And you know, Google webmasters have said the #1 thing that they're looking for, and they're starting to use more than just the bots, but human eyes to come and look at websites, is have a user-friendly website. If you come onto a website and it's full of advertising right at the top and everything's flashing and very distracting and the navigation is kind of messy, Google will take note of that and that will affect your ranking as well. A little bit more quickly on how do you win. This is the link to Google Webmasters that I already mentioned. So a good idea is to follow Google Webmasters. They're constantly giving out hints and tips how to make your website and your rankings better. Another important thing is to add new content often. The more that you add that's relevant to your site, the more opportunity the Google bots have to rank you for those keywords. Another thing is do SEO on your site as often as you can, and keep your expectations in check. You know, some companies will just give the SEO job to somebody that already has a full-time job, and they're not fully understanding how much time it really does take to get a result out of this type of work. Here's the direct link to Google Webmaster Tools. It takes a little bit of sign up to get onto this, but this is a screenshot here of a website, and you'll see there are some crawl errors, some URL errors, 115 that need to be fixed on this, and there's no sitemap marked. Now this is a tool that Google provides for free. You just register your website with them, and you'll see here on the left side the full takedown menu, but the most important thing for Google Webmaster Tools is for Google to send you messages if they see a serious problem with your site. Considering how important Google is in search for you, I would definitely pay attention to messages from them. And if they are sending you messages, you better believe it's important. You have to go back behind there and fix whatever mistakes that they're pointing out for you. So what if you're small and you feel like you can't compete with any large companies? So say you sell digital cameras and you feel you can't compete with Kodak. And yes, Kodak still is in digital cameras. You can actually compete by being smarter. Time is definitely the main resource to compete best in SEO. Again, don't just put this on to one of your employees that has another full-time job doing many other things, because it does take time. Don't underestimate the power of social. The press releases that we spoke about, link building is one of the #1 ways to do better in search, and fixing your errors. Don't think you still have the time, you don't have the resources, you feel like you can't hire an agency to help you out. You can get on first page still. That's what my clients always say to me, hey, I want to be first on search. The best way to do that, if you don't have the time, is to go for pay-per-click, Google AdWords or Bing. That's how you can get on first page, by advertising. Okay, I'm going to move on to tool #2, which is I decided to cover LinkedIn. Many of you probably are signed up for it. If you're not, I suggest that you do. There's about 300 million registered members. 100 million of those are in the U.S. It's mainly used for business networking. It can also be used by recruiters. And you know, the search engine behind LinkedIn is pretty powerful. There's I think they put the stat here. 3 million companies that have their own company pages, and 5.7 professionally oriented searches on the platform just in 2012. That's a lot of searches, so it can be considered its own search engine. So LinkedIn advertising. The ads have a minimum cost per click of $2, and a setup fee of $5. This is not like all pay-per-click type advertising, so they don't always set a minimum. Facebook does not have a minimum, but it's also very, very targeted advertising. You can do it by job title, job function, industry, age group, gender, and you'll see I did an ad that came up for me. RIT Online Executive MBA came up as an ad. This is interesting because I've already taken the EMBA here at RIT, but I still get the ad for it, and they targeted towards probably females in the Rochester area within a certain title of managers, and as well as some women's network, and I must have recently been looking for some spreadsheet information because I have an ad for that. There's also another text ad that you see there in the blue, and you made some smart career moves, make another enroll over your old IRA. That's another example of the ads that they can do. They will be placed within various areas on LinkedIn. You can choose, if you want to do the text and photos, it is like this, the one here with the RIT ad. And if you want to do just text, it's like the one right here. And then you'll see here on this next slide, Tiffany has done a nice colorful square block, delight your clients, 'tis the season for Tiffany gifts. Yes, please. And it's best for business to business. You'll see all those ads were focused on business to business. It's also great for recruiting, and that's not just job recruiting, but also for colleges to recruit, as well as other informational products, certifications. I think Cornell, the executive program, has been chasing me for a little while with these ads, but that's what it is best for. When you're really, really targeted and your focus is business to business or recruiting or informational products. So tool number 3, and I've chose to focus on Facebook, but I wanted to give you a quick review of social media advertising in general. You may have heard of the stat that YouTube's the second most utilized search engine after Google. People so far, Google has now owns YouTube, and the way that they're doing their advertising is the companies have to pay if people watch more than so many seconds of an ad or click, or if there is a click. It's still inexpensive, but it's still being tweaked for best results. It's hard to figure out an audience sometimes because you never know. Just about, it feels like 50% of the population are watching cat videos. So you can definitely experiment with it. It's still inexpensive, but as it gets better and more focused, the price to advertise on YouTube will probably go up. Twitter is relatively the same. They've implemented ads, I think it was last year. But, you know, you have to consider the audience on Twitter. It's mostly news and miscellaneous social. There's not really always product shoppers. There's some, but they tend to be already loyal to their brands. But it is really good for creating brand awareness, and if you're working on your own personal branding. There's other social platforms that are moving towards advertising. You'll start to see Pinterest, which many females are on, as well as some males. And some other social platforms that are moving towards advertising. They have to create a revenue stream to continue to exist. Did I go over one? There you go. Sorry about that. For social media, I wanted to focus a little bit on Facebook. I recently did some advertising on it, and I found it to be very user-friendly. It was also inexpensive. As you can see here, I can't remember what I set the ad to, but I've only spent like a few dollars a day to boost a specific post that I had on one of my clients. And you'll see on the left side, I put a screenshot of the breakdown, the listings of what you can do with some of the Facebook advertising. You know, there's create an ad. You can run quite a few different campaigns. There's also different reports and audience insights, and their billing is pretty easy. You just go on, you log in your information, and let it run. You definitely have to set a daily budget, or it can get a little out of control. Some of the issues so far that I'm seeing with Facebook advertising, and it is getting better and better, is that the audience is still quite broad. You can pick age, you can pick gender, you can pick languages. There are ways to target it, but if you don't pay attention to what that really means when you're filling out those things, you could really target people that are not even interested in your product. You have to think, like, what are people on Facebook for? They're not always there to buy things. Some of them are, and you will get business from them, but it really, you have to add it to the tool of having a Facebook page and also being engaged with your audience. They will definitely click on a boosted post, but you should have a Facebook presence and engage your audience if you're going to use Facebook advertising. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's a great tool depending on what kind of products and services that you're selling. So tool number 4, and I chose to focus on Google AdWords for this, is pay-per-click, PPC. There's other platforms, Bing, Yahoo, some banner ads that you can do, but Google AdWords is the biggest, and it has the most money backing it, which means they also have the best customer service and learning tools. They have a university that they offer to help you learn how to use Google AdWords, and some of these ads can be really, really complex. But the more complex means the better targeting and also the better spend that you can get. The con for Google AdWords right now is that the space can be pretty competitive, and the cost per click can sometimes be more costly than other tactics that you could use. I have heard of cost per clicks being $50, $70 a click in some really, really competitive spaces. You could also be nimble and use keywords for your ads to try to keep that cost down. There are ways, but you really have to spend a lot of time learning about Google AdWords and how it works. You could skip all of the learning on your own because if you're running your own business, how can you also take the time to learn Google AdWords? And hire experts or an agency to manage and optimize your campaigns daily. Most large companies do this. They don't necessarily have in-house somebody running their AdWords, but it's a lot of work to stay on top of it, and there's always a lot of changes. You can be very, very targeted, and if you're not careful, you can overspend a lot of money by not paying attention to your settings and what your competitors are doing. So simple ad campaigns can be done, do it yourself. If you're selling, I'll keep going to dog collars. If you're selling dog collars, you can probably set up the ad yourself. If you're selling something that you only want to a specific region, only to a certain kind of buyer, only to certain keywords that people are using, you really, really, really should spend time learning it or hiring an agency that can help you. So when you're thinking about working with Google AdWords, you should sign up for an account even if you're going to hire somebody else or not use Google AdWords. And this is because Google offers those that are using Google AdWords extra tools that you can't get anywhere else. And you have to think about when they're running these, like their priority is focused on searchers. You know, in the end, you think, okay, well, their customer happens to be the people running the ads. Not really. Their main priority is searchers. If searchers are happy, Google still stays the best search engine. So while they do cater quite a bit to their clients that are using AdWords, you have to think about when you're running your ads, what helps the searchers out the most, and that will work best if you keep that mindset in mind while you're running your campaigns. You'll do better. They do offer Keyword Planner. They help you diagnose your ads, and they can track conversions for you. You can link directly to your Google Analytics, and you can tell within your Google Analytics who came to your site from an ad. So even if you're not going to use Google AdWords, sign up for an account, set up a campaign, make sure you put it on pause, just so you can get access to those additional tools. So why use Google AdWords? You know, and I put this in the context of, what about traditional advertising? Think about print, you know, those billboards that you drive by. Think about radio, TV. They tell you how many people are watching or how many impressions. Google AdWords is really a whole nother step further. It's much more measurable than any of those. We don't really know how many people are looking at an ad in a magazine. It's faster than SEO. You can be on first page in about 10 minutes, where SEO takes time, and you also have to build it over you know, many, many months of work. Also, Google is constantly improving its advertising engagement. Every so often they come out with, for their main clients, different universities and webinars that you can log on to and learn how they're making things better and better. Another thing, you can pause anytime. So, you know, you could order a billboard advertisement or pay a lot of money to be in a magazine or the Sunday New York Times. You can't pause it anytime. You still have to pay for it. Whether anybody reads it or not, you're still paying for it. Also, the ads are placed above the fold. And while there is some studies out there saying that we are starting to look less at ads at the top and on the sides, still getting clicks. You know, a good click-through rate can be anything depending on how targeted you are, but you should be happy with about 3% to, I've even seen 11% of click-through rate. It does depend on the ads and the focus that you're doing, how much targeting you're doing. But that's a really good click-through rate because people are clicking, they really, really are interested in buying. So the last tools that I'm going to go over are website analytics, and I say tools because I'm going to run through a couple of them for you. But website analytics in general, there are many, many, many platforms. There's Google Analytics, which you've probably heard of, Linkassistant, Moz does a great job, and some are better than others. And with the exception of Google Analytics, it's what you get what you pay for around. Google provides an amazing array of insights for free. But you do need to do a little setup work to link the account, or you just won't have access to the data. And you won't have access to the data until you sign up, so you can't go back in your history and see. Linkassistant, I'm going to go over that a little bit today, and Moz, which I'm not going to go over, but you can see great samples on their site. You have to pay for their data and reports, but they do a really, really good job going over, telling you the things that you should fix. Where Google Analytics, you have to kind of inference yourself. But most importantly, Linkassistant really does a lot of work on competitor analysis. So this first slide is a slide of a snapshot of a website that was just recently set up this year. And you'll see I have it set for May to October. And the graph chart shows the amount of traffic coming to the website. There was about 13,000, almost 500 sessions. It used to be called visitors. They just recently changed it to sessions. Unique views are about 8,500. So what that means is you have 64% new visitors coming to this website, and the rest are returning visitors, so they have been there before. Again, this is Google Analytics. This is free. You may as well set up any website accounts that you have it, or get access to your companies if you think you can help them with some of their work. And this is just a great snapshot. And then you can also dig quite a bit deeper. I'm going to go through just a couple of examples of how much deeper. You can figure out how people came to the website. So when it lists organic search, direct, social, and referral here, organic search is when people are typing in keywords and they click on the link to your website, and that's how they get there. Now, I don't show this on here, but you could click on organic search here, and it will show you what keywords that they use to get to your website. Direct means that they directly typed in the URL to come to the website, and social means it's coming from their Facebook pages or Twitter or whatever social platforms they've set up to record who's coming in from where. So, you know, if you can think about, well, how do I use Google Analytics to make my website better? A quick way is to go directly to organic search, click on that, go to the keywords, make a list of all those keywords, and decide which ones you want to put more into your website content to get recognized by the Google bots, and you'll just get higher and higher in rankings if you continue to do this kind of work. Here's another example of deeper dive type work that you can do on Google Analytics. You'll see here that New York State is 50% of this website's traffic, with New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and the rest of the states coming down from there. If you click on the state, such as you click on New York, it'll show you what city or towns people are coming from. So you can really kind of figure out where your main audience is. Many people are surprised when they see this. They think, oh, we get a lot of, you know, I'm based in New Jersey, and I should get all my, I'm a logistics company, and I should get all my traffic from there. You'd probably be surprised to see the majority of the traffic was coming from New York. Another thing that you can look into is what type of devices are people using to come to your website. Desktop, mobile, and tablet are tracked, and that's the top part of this screenshot, and on the bottom part of the screenshot, it tells you exactly what devices people are using to come to the site. Looking at this stat, it says to me that more than half are coming to the site using mobile and tablet. So while some of us say, oh, I want to see what our website is, and they're looking at a desktop, it is so, so important for this website to make sure that their site is optimized for mobile and tablet use. That's a great way to use Google Analytics, is to figure out where your traffic's coming in and how do you make it more user-friendly for the exact users that you have coming in. So moving away from Google Analytics, I'm going to talk a little bit about Linkassistant. Linkassistant is a pay-for service, and they call it full cycle SEO software, and they give you four main tools. It's Rank Tracker, Website Auditor, SEO Spyglass, and Linkassistant. I don't have time to go through all of them, so I'm just going to quickly go through a couple of them and show you some screenshots of some reports from what they could provide. So here is Rank Tracker, and I chose to review the saundersrit.edu website. I chose the keywords to analyze, and I wanted to see where the website ranked using these keywords. I chose business colleges, business degree, business school, college of business, EMBA, marketing colleges, MBA, and U.S. Business College. And it ran for me where Saunders RT would show up on Google Rank, Bing US Rank, and Yahoo Rank. As you can see on the report, did not come up in the top 50 results for most of the terms, but did come up in the top so many results, 4 for College of Business under Google Rank, and number 7 for EMBA under Google Rank. So you can use this to analyze what keywords you want to do better on search for within your content for the website, or to fix any errors that you have. Like maybe these aren't the keywords that they particularly were searching for, but they could put in what they thought that they would like to come up for in search and come up with the results there. This is another screenshot from Rank Tracker. I put in some more keywords and selected them all, and I wanted to understand what the competition was for some keywords. So you see college was low, no idea why. International business was medium, business law was medium for competition. So as you can see on the several columns over, cost per click, it gives you an idea of how much you would have to pay in a CPC platform to buy those words if you didn't want to optimize, take the time to optimize the website to rank on first page for those. That's another example of how you can use Rank Tracker. I used their website auditor reports to do a quick review of, and I didn't do a deep dive, but a quick review of some of the things that they could fix on their website to do even better with rankings. Don't get a little wild-eyed about how many errors there are. you know, it marks 566. Most large websites have errors. It's quite common. It's just, you know, try to do some work to reduce that, and you will definitely do better within search. They have 206 empty title tags. Duplicate titles, they had 29, and their meta descriptions, they had 312 that were duplicate, and they could spend some time fixing those and, you know, getting those title tags in there, and then Google bots would have a better and easier time to discover them. I quickly ran a report on Linkassistant, which is, I decided to look at a competitor for the EMBA business schools within Google search. I found that Ohio State University, the Fisher School of Business came up for an EMBA business school competitor of the Saunders School. And this program ran all the links that were under their website and returned this great report for me. So how do I use this? I would go to, and we'll see like number 3 is blogs.law.harvard.edu. And I would go there and see how they're using the link and see if Harvard would link something to RIT. Also, let's see, what's another good one? The Study Abroad, that looks to be like another blog type website. I would see if they would want to run a story on us. Whatever it took to get more links coming back to the Saunders website would really help them within search rankings. So the next couple of slides are some resources. These are some of the things we've spoken about today. Google Analytics, there's the link to it, as well as Google AdWords. LinkedIn Partner, this is the link to really give you some more information. I know we covered some of all of this really quickly, as well as advertising for Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. These are the resources that you need to go to if you wanted to get started with it. This is homework. I've just got to give homework. This is the link to Mary Meeker's Internet Trends Reports. Bookmark her because every year she comes up with a report, and sometimes every so many months she'll do a smaller report that comes out. If you want to track the algorithm changes of Google, Moz.com is a really interesting site where they report after. It's really, really interesting. You want to check it out. If you ever experience where your site tanked one day and you had no idea why, go check it out to see if maybe it coincided with the day that Google changed their algorithm. You can also go visit Webmaster's G+ page, and this is for Moz. And then the last 3 are resources to go to, the last 2. Search engine land and marketing props are resources if you're within the industry or interested in the industry of marketing to watch daily, to see what new news is going on and different tactics that you could use. And the last one is the link to Linkassistant, which is the analytics that I just covered. So in summary, internet marketing and advertising tools, there are so many to choose from, and they're all getting better and better, not just in terms of controlling your spend, but also in targeting your customers, as well as supplying you data to make conclusions to make your advertising even better. This is a much more nimble way to do it than just putting up a billboard or a TV ad to who knows where. Internet marketing offers, something that billboards, radio, and TV cannot. It's trackable metrics, and most importantly, the ability to pause. If you ever needed to, hey, I need to take a break, I need to reevaluate, because you never know what's going to happen in the world, and it's definitely a good idea to have that ability to pause, and that's what internet marketing offers you. So thank you to the Alumni Association for helping us and letting us do these webinars, and thank you everybody for attending. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll take some questions.
Thank you, Cheri, for that fascinating overview of some really important marketing tools. And so everyone knows, we will be making the PowerPoint file available with the recording email as well. So all those links that are in here, you'll be able to snag those and really dive deeper into the information. And now we do have some questions for you from today's webinar participants. We have one from Martha, and Martha asks, within Google Analytics, is there a way to block your own visits to your company's site so they are not counted?
Yes, there is. There's a tag somewhere deep within Google Analytics, and it's probably easier just to tell you to Google it, but there's definitely a way to do that, and it's good, especially if you're going there all the time, every day. But yes, there is a way to do that.
Okay, and we have a question from John. John says, I run a B2B company, and I want to know who specifically is looking at my website so I can contact them. Is there a way to do this?
So you can go to Google Analytics and keep an eye. I think it's really kind of creepy, but you can see real time when your website is being used and what pages that they're on and the city that they're from. Google used to have it so you could see the server, and you could probably take some pretty educated guesses about who was on your site. You cannot, though, get the exact username of who is on your site and when at this point.
Okay. We have a question from Mary. And Mary says, what would you say your favorite social media platform is to advertise on?
It definitely depends on the product or service that's being sold. I would not be selling dog collars on LinkedIn. I would not be using Facebook to sell a webinar for 5 internet marketing tools, unless I had an alumni database to use. So it really depends on the service or product that I'm using. I do think that you can be pretty targeted with all of them, enough to be satisfied with the cost at this point, and it's worth keeping an eye on them and understanding that their targeting is going to get better and better. So they are less costly than Google AdWords usually, but it does depend on what you're selling.
All right, we have a question from Melissa, and Melissa asks, where do the keywords go? Do you put them in the HTML header?
Oh, good question, Melissa. Keywords, so they should go, most importantly, they should go within the content of your website. So, you know, if you're writing a blog on your website, if your home page, like any of your pages, before you create a page, you should make a list of the keywords that you think should be on that page that searchers would find most usable for that page. So first, it should be within your website content. The next place it should be within the back on your HTML. If you're using a custom tool like WordPress or Weebly, they usually have SEO plugins and add-ons to help you with this. But your page titles should all have your keywords within them, and make sure they make sense. Google is starting to penalize for clunky writing. So what I mean by that is if you're selling dog leashes, don't write dog leashes, dog leashes, dog leashes 12 times. You will get penalized for that. You know, write custom, strong, glow-in-the-dark dog leashes. Whatever it is you're exactly selling on that page, on the page title. It should also be in the headers, which is in the back of your code, and also any pictures that you're uploading to that page. Behind that picture, there's usually like an additional data section to click on. That's where you would put those words. Those are like snippets that you would put in there of exactly what that picture is. And don't try, you know, to trick Google with the keywords. You should definitely be thoughtful and be careful with your writing.
All right, we have a question from Sam. Sam says, if I have a list of people who have purchased my product and I want to advertise to them specifically on social media, is there any way that I can do that?
Yes, if you have MailChimp, you can link it with Facebook. That will help you bring up your whole database and directly target just them. There's also email marketing, which we didn't cover, but could probably be a whole course in itself with its complexities. And believe it or not, email marketing is still doing really, really well. So there are several tactics to use. I think we have a favorite tool to do keyword research, question from Martha. My favorite tool is the keyword tool within Google. So you basically sign up for Google AdWords, and they have a keyword planner tool. That will give you quite a bit of different options to really kind of play around with to figure out what keywords you should be using, and as well as the competition for those keywords, and I think that's really important. It's hard to compete sometimes with these big companies that have, enormous websites, but you can usually find words that they're not using that you can find useful and use within your content.
All right. We have a question from Anthony. Anthony says, in addition to keywords and text content, I've heard Google uses words you use in videos too. Is this true?
Yes, it's really amazing. Google is doing that. You also have to make sure the tags of your videos are correct. I know a lot of people will just, for instance, with YouTube, they'll upload a video and then they don't mess around with the settings at all. It's really important just to take a few extra minutes and go through the settings, make sure that you are choosing the right focuses on that video, and you'll see that it does do a better job with targeting. So yeah, it's really amazing.
All right, a question from John. Is it cost-effective to use GoDaddy Build It services versus doing it yourself?
In my experience, I have not had much luck with GoDaddy for Build It services. Of course, that's where I get my domains from, but I've done several on GoDaddy and just ended up really, really frustrated. I think I may have even thrown out a few swear words. So personally, I use WordPress, and I've done a couple on Weebly, which is when the owner wants to help make changes to the website. Weebly is really, really user-friendly compared to WordPress, but it does not have all the tools that WordPress does. I did get quite frustrated with GoDaddy, and I may not have given it a fair shot when I tried, but I did not have luck with that.
Okay, we have a question from Mahesh, and Mahesh asks, what is the ideal tool for selling managed services?
I don't know. I would try LinkedIn, and I would try to target within LinkedIn. You'd probably have to do a lot of background research to be really specific on who you're targeting it to and not be wasting your money, especially considering that the minimum cost per click is $2. There's no wiggle room there to experiment much. So you'd have to do a lot of upfront research to make sure that you're targeting specifically who you want. My next suggestion would be Google AdWords, and spend some time, again, upfront making sure that you know your audience before you're going to just, spend money and put out the keywords out there, just so you know you're getting who you want to click.
Okay. If anyone has any additional questions, we'll give you one more minute to submit them. All right. It looks like that's it for questions. Many thanks to Cheri for being our distinguished speaker today. Any additional questions, if you have any, can be emailed to ritalum@rit.edu or tweeted to @RIT_alumni with the hashtag #MeRITWebinars, and we will direct your questions to Cheri.